a special drink used to intoxicate the head. People spend money and time on that drink even though they know it will cause them to lose consciousness. Humans have been using alcohol for tens of thousands of years. Alcohol was once considered money. In Greek culture there was a god who was responsible for obtaining good alcohol. Liquor is also used as an offering in the Kalavaravi temple in Madhya Pradesh. Vodka, gin, baijiu, shochu, soju, tequila, rum, whiskey, brandy, singani, wine and native liquor are available today. What are the differences? What is the history of alcohol? What is alcoholic fermentation? Alcoholic fermentation or ethanol fermentation is a biotechnological process in which sugars such as glucose, sucrose, and fructose are converted into ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide in the presence of yeast, some bacteria, or other microorganisms. Alcoholic fermentation is a type of fermentation process widely used in producing alcoholic beverages such as beer and wine. Fermentation is a metabolic process where enzymes or microorganisms induce the decomposition of organic substances. Ethanol fermentation is a complicated process that involves various chemical, biochemical, and physiochemical processes. First, the sugar breaks down to form pyruvic acid, which is then converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. Alcohol can be classified into 4 categories: base liquors, liqueurs, wines and beer. Alcoholic beverages can be classified into various categories based on their ingredients, production methods, and flavors. Spirits are also known as fortified liquors or distilled beverages. These contain high alcohol content. Spirits include whiskey, vodka, rum, tequila, gin, and brandy. They are made by fermenting fruits, grains, or plants. Beer is made from fermented grains such as barley, wheat, corn, or rice. Wine is made from fermented grapes or other fruits. There are different types of wine like red, white, port, rose, sparkling and dessert wine. Cider is made from fermented apple juice. Both alcoholic and non-alcoholic cider are available. A wine that has been fermented using the traditional method and carbonated like soda is called champagne. Sake is a traditional Japanese alcoholic beverage made from fermented rice. A mixture of fermented honey and water is called mead. Fruits or spices are often added to them. Vermouth is made up of 75% wine and spices. Absinthe is fermented herbs. Brandy is a spirit distilled from fermented fruit juice, usually grapes, apples or pears. Tequila is a liquor made from the juice of the blue agave plant and is produced in Mexico. Gin is made by fermenting the juice of juniper berries. Rum is made by fermenting sugarcane juice. These are just a few examples. The history of alcohol and humans stretches back at least 30,000 and even 100,000 years. Alcohol, a liquid produced by natural fermentation of sugar, is the most widely used human psychoactive agent worldwide today, surpassing nicotine, caffeine, and betel nut. People on 6 of the 7 continents, except Antarctica, made and used honey in various forms based on a variety of natural sweeteners found in grains and fruits. Alcohol production began when early farmers noticed that rotting fruit had fallen to the ground. They may have detected a sour taste and peculiar smell. Experimentation with different fruits and grains led to a drink called alcohol. Organized brewing began about 10,000 years ago when a fermented beverage was produced from honey and wild yeast. By 6000 BCE, grapes were cultivated for wine in the mountains near the Caspian Sea. Within another 2000 years, similar practices existed in Mesopotamia, which is now known as Iraq. When Egypt flourished around 3000 BCE, wine production and shipping across the Mediterranean were important businesses. The Romans made wine from wild grapes growing in the countryside, due to the natural fermentation that takes place on the skins of the grapes. Wine was also important in their commerce, and grape wines were sometimes used to trade slaves who worked in the vineyards. The Romans developed a method of making wine using a special type of jar called an amphora. It is filled with about 7 gallons of grape juice, and then sealed airtight as it begins to ferment. By 1500 BC, the Roman god Dionysus had entered into religious practice. Dionysus was the god of the grape harvest and winemaking. In Greek mythology, this god is known as Bacchus. Wine became a ritual in later cultures. Even today, the word bacchanal is used to describe a drunken celebration. Dionysian rites died out after they spread to Italy, where society outlawed wine. Increased alcoholism caused many problems in Rome. Many studies suggest that alcoholic beverages may have been used in China before they were used in the West. Drinks are believed to have been used as part of celebrations such as swearing oaths or going into battle, births, deaths and marriages. By 800 BC, beer was being produced in India using barley and rice. Around the time of the philosopher Plato in the 4th century BCE, he advised that wine was good for health and happiness, but only in moderation. Over time, one philosopher after another began to criticize alcoholism, as alcoholism became more and more common. Alexander the Great was known for his drinking and his ability to conquer other cultures. Between 500 and 300 BCE, alcohol of all kinds began to become available in Hebrew countries such as Israel. Jews used alcohol as part of festivals, as medicine, and as a provision in times of war. In Rome, one emperor after another became known for their abusive drinking. After AD 69, these reports disappear, and it is thought that alcohol consumption may have declined significantly throughout the Roman Empire. In 600 AD, Prophet Muhammad ordered his followers to abstain from alcohol. Buddhists and Hindu Brahmins abstained. Around 1100, a medical school in Italy developed methods for producing pure, potent alcohol. During the Middle Ages in Europe, wine, beer, and mead, a liquor made from honey, came into greater use. Wines became the most popular alcohol in the regions of Italy, Spain, and France. The monks started brewing all the good quality beer themselves. Beer production began to grow in Germany, and cities competed for the best products. By the late Middle Ages, beer and wine production had made their way to Scotland and England and soon became important industries. During the 1600s, alcoholism became a widespread problem in England, and beer and wine were commonly abused. As denominations migrated to America over the next century, many formed new alcohol control groups. Protestant leaders in Europe argued that alcohol was a gift from God and could be used sparingly for pleasure, enjoyment, and health. But for some, drinking was always a sin. Although there were many differences of opinion, Spanish and Polish peasants consumed an average of 3 liters of beer per day. In some British districts, consumption of beer and ale averaged 17 pints per person per week. That is equivalent to 3 pintagles today. In Sweden and Denmark, sailors and laborers were given a gallon of beer a day. The first distillery in America was established in Staten Island. Hops plants were grown in Massachusetts, USA to supply beer. Massachusetts also had a rum factory that started in Boston in 1657. It soon became New England's richest industry and taxed alcohol production in the colonies, fueling smuggling operations along the coast. By the early 1700s, England was producing millions of gallons of gin and juniper berry-flavored liquor. By 1733, 11 million gallons of gin were produced in London alone. Gin was a great relief to London's poor. Then the tax on gin liquor was also increased to prevent the increase in gin consumption in the country. Although the United States failed to outlaw alcohol completely through prohibition, it did little to control alcoholism, which led to organized crime smuggling illegal liquor. It is clear that addiction to alcohol is nothing new. The human body and mind have been at war with alcohol for thousands of years. Kerala is a state that sells alcohol and makes money from its taxes. Whether an average Malayali is happy or sad, alcohol is the first thing he depends on. While in other countries alcohol is used sparingly to combat the cold weather, alcohol is harmful to health only when consumed in excess. A person who is still busy with work will drink once a month to forget all his problems and go to sleep peacefully. Some to survive from cold weather. Others will be there to be part of the festivities when everyone gets together. But some people misuse alcohol and spend all the money they earn on alcohol. Overeating, over-shopping and overindulgence are all intoxicants. Alcohol is not an intoxicant if there is no trouble for us, the family or the country.